Welcome to Joa Fitness Health Wellness Video Podcast, a space to ignite your day through positive conversations. We bring people that have created excellence in their life, sharing high vibration in their reawakening path.
Hello, my friends. Happy Friday. Everyone here, Joa Rivas in the city of Toronto. I wanted to welcome you to another podcast. And today, exciting to have a second podcast with one of my closer friends sharing with us talks about woman health, and especially for all of us that have back pain. And especially now with the pandemic, after the pandemic, we all actually generated more issues on our back because the mental health is actually related to our back and spine. So how are you, Michelle? How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for giving us part of your busy time, busy schedule. Michelle Basu Roy is actually a naturopath doctor and an osteopath in the city of Toronto, where we live together. And she's not only a professional in health and wellness, but also she's a mother of two toddlers. So she's very busy running around, chasing the kids, and on top of that, helping our community to be healthy and to be happier. That is so important. Now, here, if this is the first time that you're listening to this podcast, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm actually a yoga and pilates teacher from 2010, and I'm actually a health educator. I really love teaching people how to make their life much easier and better every day. So that's kind of my mission in life. And I've been developing all these skills and toolbox to be able to help and support my community. And part of what I do is to bring amazing professionals that are actually involved with this movement of being healthy. So today we have Dr. Michelle. She's actually very knowledgeable. She's not only a doctor, but she's also an athlete. She performs many hours of practice of CrossFit. As you know, CrossFit now is a discipline that is being developed for over a decade. And I love to watch the Olympics on the CrossFit because for me, that's Olympics. These people have so much energy, and it's a dream for me to be part of them one day. So far, I only watch as an audience, and I really love it. And I wanted to talk today about something that it would concern anyone about pregnancies, because I have many of my clients and people around me that comes to me and they say, I'm pregnant and I'm going to take it easy until I deliver the baby, because they're afraid of any type of concerns, right? They can come through their pregnancy. And I wanted to talk about this with Dr. Michelle because she has the science, but she also has the practice of being actually passing through two pregnancies and being very healthy through pregnancies. And now she can just give us so much knowledge. So the very first question that I actually get from people are related to this. What month should you stop exercising when pregnant?
Okay, so I find for a lot of my patients and a lot of women who are pregnant, it's actually the first month or the first 6 weeks that is the most difficult. And part of the reason during this period, the level of HCG in the blood is increasing. So many women feel some nausea and they find they don't feel as well. They're more tired. Also, at this point, the blood volume is doubling. So you can feel a lot more out of breath, especially from a cardiovascular standpoint. So
okay, so the very first trimester?
I find the first trimester is actually where you want to rest more if you need to. It's typically the first, starting from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, tends to be the worst time if you feel you need to rest.
Mm-hmm. How was your experience with the first pregnancy and the second pregnancy? Did you feel a little different between the first trimester on each of your kids?
Both pregnancies were a little bit different. I actually found my first pregnancy was with my son, and I found actually my physical strength during my pregnancy was much higher than normal, which was interesting. Definitely some fatigue with both, but overall was very good. And I was able to exercise throughout both pregnancies.
Mm-hmm. So now that we know when we have to take it easy until our body adapts to our new stage, then at what month can a pregnant woman start doing exercise?
So, everyone is different. I always recommend you don't want to increase your fitness during your pregnancy, but there's no issue maintaining. So you have to go based on how you feel. It's very important to prioritize sleep and your moods and your energy. For me, I exercised every day of my pregnancy from the beginning to the end. Everybody is different. I think for some people, they feel a little uncomfortable at the beginning and at the end, but generally second trimester, so from 12 weeks up close to birth, depending on how much weight is gained, there's no issues exercising throughout this entire time. You do sometimes have to modify the movements based on the belly, but apart from that, there's no concerns. The biggest thing you need to modify typically is the intensity. You're generally able to maintain the same strength, but the intensity of a cardiovascular, from the cardiovascular standpoint, sometimes does need to be adjusted.
And this means that, let's say someone that was lifting their body weight through the pregnancy, do they have to reduce half of this percentage? Do we have a kind of parameter to follow, or do we just go with the feelings?
So when you're doing any type of cardiovascular exercise, it's important to make sure you can still maintain a conversation. I wouldn't be doing high intensity cardio so that you feel you cannot talk or you're gasping for air. Having said that, your body will stop you. I very rarely have ever seen anyone who's pregnant who can go at high intensity. And the big reason why is because the blood volume is so high, it is difficult to go at a higher intensity. So from this standpoint, your body will limit you. In terms of strength training, there's no issue doing the same weights that you did prior to pregnancy. However, you do want to modify the movements. So I don't recommend doing any dynamic types of movements. So for example, in CrossFit, we have a lot of Olympic lifting, we have a lot of kipping. This is not something I recommend during pregnancy. But doing lifts, for example, doing squats, doing deadlifts, doing stationary lifts like shoulder press, pull downs, all of this is safe. So there's no issue modifying load if you feel you have the strength.
Okay. And let's say for someone that is on the first trimester, can that, is it okay to practice yoga and Pilates according to what you have studying and even your own body? Is that okay?
So yes, the one concern that I sometimes see is being careful with doing too much core exercise during pregnancy, because there's obviously an increase in blood flow in the uterus and the lower abdomen. You don't want to do too much core strengthening during the actual pregnancy. So yoga, I would say yes. Pilates, maybe, but you may need to modify slightly, especially as the baby starts to grow. So first trimester, you might be okay, but second and third, it would probably be very difficult to maintain a lot of the core exercises, and I wouldn't advise this.
Okay, so at the end, no core exercises.
No core exercise.
Is this related to the hormone of the relaxing hormone that it actually can lengthen perhaps too much the muscles and you can actually overstretch? Is this part of why not to do it at the end of the pregnancy?
So the problem that happens is that the rectus abdominis muscle, which is basically two sides of the muscle, is actually slightly stretching. And so if you strengthen the muscle during this period, it changes the way that the muscle develops. So it's actually not great to be doing abdominal strengthening as the baby is growing. This is something you would want to start postpartum after 6 weeks after the baby is born.
So we have a very specific question related to that. Like, can we do planks when we are pregnant?
Planks, I'm okay with. Yes.
Okay.
So doing any type of static hold, yes. And maybe not in the third trimester, but for the first trimester, it is fine. Anything in addition to this, I would modify a little bit for pregnancy, but side planks and regular planks, I feel fine with those.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I remember when you were pregnant, you were posting videos doing dips with probably like 8 months pregnant. I remember that was like a lot. It was your body weight plus 15 kilos more, who knows how many kilos more, and you were there pumping those triceps. So yeah, very motivating. Is there any specific event that you remember during your pregnancies that you kind of like, oh, I'm pushing too hard here, like, oh, I should just stop here? Or you actually were so in tune with your body that everything just went so in flow?
So that's a great question. You definitely learn from each pregnancy. So when I was in my second pregnancy, I knew a lot more than I did in my first. And with both pregnancies, I exercised a lot during. I think the one thing that I did that was a little bit of a mistake is that I felt so good after my pregnancy, I started to do intensity exercise too soon. And so what I recommend is, definitely taking a little bit more time, especially when you're going back to doing any heavy lifting, because if you don't do it, if you don't give yourself a little bit of time, you can actually damage the stomach muscles.
Okay, so you mean a time is about 8 weeks? Like what would be a good time
Yeah,
for your body to
60,
rest?
the uterus, which generally when you're pregnant goes up very high past the umbilical. And so after you deliver, the uterus starts to go back to its normal position.
Oh, wow. Okay, I understand. So how many weeks normally takes for the uterus to come down to their original position after pregnancy?
Everyone's a little different, but generally, between 4 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
And you can feel the position. So you can actually, through the abdominal wall, feel the head of the uterus. You can feel it going back to the position.
And the last question today, I wanted to ask you about something really important, which I know you are so dedicated and you have helped me and helped many of my clients in the nutrition. I wanted to know in a way how a woman that is actually training should nourish the body, not only for her, but also for the new baby coming. So anything in particular that you recommend in a woman's nutrition within the training and within the last 2 trimesters of a pregnancy?
So I find what often happens is there's a lot of nutrient depletion with pregnancy because the baby has a lot of requirements. So what is very important is actually to focus on your pre-conception nutrition. So really working on getting high amounts of fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K prior to conceiving. So you typically want to start increasing your nutrients 3 months before pregnancy, up to 6 weeks. And then again in the last trimester, as well as with breastfeeding, because your requirements for calories and nutrients is actually highest at the point where you're breastfeeding.
Okay, so this one, we're talking about supplements that you buy and you take, or you actually go first for the nutrition, like real whole foods, and then we go to supplement it?
Always first from food. And the foods with the most nutrient density are always going to be derived from the fat of the animal. And you don't eat a lot of these foods, but foods that are very nutrient dense are things like grass-fed butter, clarified butter, things like grass-fed beef, wild fish, egg yolks, and liver. These are foods that are very, very important, very nourishing to grow the baby, and very important to prevent things like postpartum because of the nutrient deficiency.
Okay, yeah, super important. So it's not only training, but also nutrition. Nutrition just by its own, we can talk for another 3-4 days. So
Yes.
it's so long about it because it's not only what we eat during the pregnancy, but what we actually feed our bodies before when we are thinking about being mothers. Now, people that are exercising right now, they're listening to this conversation and they're actually passing through back pain. So what would you tell to a woman, a mother, maybe a first time mother that is experiencing lower back pain or like lumbar pain or some type of neck pain just because the load on the womb? Like what would be the best to do to be able to alleviate?
Yes. So to your point before, you mentioned the hormone relaxin, which is a hormone that does get released to help the baby pass through the birth canal. This hormone is great because it allows you to increase flexibility. So what is very important to do is you want to strengthen the spine in its full range of motion. So first you want to have the full extension and flexion of the spine. And once you are able to achieve this, you want to load the spine, in particular extension. So I strongly recommend for a lot of women who are pregnant, you don't need to go heavy on the load, but to perform exercises like Romanian deadlifts, as well as to do split squats to prevent the front of the hips from getting tight, which can pull the back out of alignment.
Okay, so these two movements, a split squat, which is amazing for hip mobility, ankle mobility, and even the core strength. And then we also have the Romanian deadlift, which is more like imagining picking up luggage. You have two luggage, one on each side, and you're picking them up from the floor. So that all engages your extensors and your core muscles. Like Michelle just commented, before you load the motion, learn how to flex and how to extend your spine properly So you work on the range of motion, then you work on the strength. So that's a very good protocol to follow. If you have any questions, you can also follow Michelle Basu Roy channel. She actually has an Instagram channel where she posts a lot of information, especially for women's health and for fertility and everything related to the journey of becoming a mother. And not only a mother, but a super woman. If you see her body, she looks like superwoman. She could be the next superwoman for sure. So thank you so much, Michelle, for all your knowledge. Very easy tips. I hope these help you. If you found one tip to help you, please send us which one is the one that you want to incorporate in your life today, or the one that you want to share with your friend that is pregnant right now. So thank you so much. Remember, this podcast is for you. So we are very happy when we read your comments. Reach to us. And remember that together we are stronger. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Bye, Joa.
We invite you to subscribe to this channel and share with your community. Please leave comments below, and if you like the episode, click the like button. Have a beautiful day.